Hello, America, or YouTube, or whatever the fuck. Alright, anyways, this is gonna be a video I need to make. I put it off for a while. I don't really know because I didn't really know what to make it about. I didn't really feel like making one. I mostly just didn't know what to make it about. That the pervert asshole died, whatever his name was, Epstein. So that took up a bunch of the news, and I really don't know what to. I mean, it's not that I don't care. I just don't really know what take to have on that, or what. What do you want me to say? Okay, what do you want me to say? He was an asshole. But I'm going to talk some about that, mostly about the idea that someone might have had him killed because he supposedly knew something about some rich and powerful people. But I'm not really sure what I think about that. That's possible. He probably just killed himself because he's probably never going to get out of jail. So there's that. But that's not the only reason, because even before that, there wasn't a lot going on in the news. I mostly just want to talk about the movie The Hunt, and I've talked about this before, rather, but talk about The Hunt. Another thing I talked about before was a guy named Tucker Carlson. But first, before I get to all and someone wanting him to get fired, and how liberals really do not act liberal, and how a lot of these people don't even call themselves liberal anymore because they're not liberal, and how calling people things every single time they disagree with you is not a liberal virtue. That's not what we do. That is actually what the right wing used to do, and they used to do that back during the Cold War and during the, I guess what would it be, like the Eisenhower era, like Hoover, Herbert Hoover was calling anyone that was a dissident, they would call you a communist, or some other kind of disloyal person, and George Carl used to talk about whenever you disagree with them, they would call you some kind of name, and conspiracy theorists or communists or whatever else, but I'm not want to talk about that. I want to say this, and I would say this for the end of the video, but I want to say this while I have it in my mind and while I remember it. And first of all, let me say I am circumcised. So before you think that I'm dissing people who are, I'm not, because I am. And but at the same time, that's part of the point. I'm able to look at an issue, not take into consideration how I fit into that, or like simply say something's okay because I am, or something's okay because I did it, it was done to me, this is something someone else did that I knew, this is something the country that I live in does, this is whatever. I'm able to look at something logically, critically examine it, and come to whatever fucking conclusion I think is best. And I don't have any children, but one thing's for sure, I would not have them mutilated, and I've talked about that, and I don't want this entire video to be about genital mutilation. I just want that to be clear. And I'm also not going to go into too much detail about talking about circumcision or male genital mutilation, rather because I have talked about that a lot in the past. I have videos now that some people haven't even seen. I upload too many damn videos about it as it is. I just want to make that clear, but it is a part of what I'm about to say. And I'm about to give you a metaphor for human life, or not metaphor, but just an example of what human life in America is. And that is, some guy gets off work at, and by the way, I'm not going to tell you anything, but if just the fact of me telling you, for example, between 50 and 120 children die a year from this shit, annually, roughly between 120 children, and it's a procedure that hasn't been proved to cure any diseases or to protect against any diseases. And if that still doesn't convince you it's something you probably shouldn't do, something that you're not going to do, or at least think twice about doing, then there's nothing I can tell you to keep you from doing that, because America is a stubborn ass nation, and I'm just leaving it at that. But right now, and I will talk about it more in the future, but that's not right now. But anyways, I've talked about that too much. Let's get on with the video. Anyway, some guy works his ass off at the Jiffy Lube or some other place. Let's say he works making and sending cardboard boxes from one side of the country to the next, or pasteboard boxes, or whatever other junk from one side of the nation to the next. And they pay him to do this because our nation wants people to work doing something, even if it's not productive, just so they can say we have so many people doing something. And after a hard, long day of work, he gets off work, goes home to his trailer park, to his wife, who is even more miserable than he is, after having discovered that, and also has a shit ton of student loan debt, after having discovered that gender studies doesn't exactly do very well in the real world. And they decide to make, and after a long day of meth binging, they decide to make love. And by make love, I mean he takes his mutilated cock out and roughly thrust fucks her like a rag doll for all of 2 minutes before he passes out on top of her. And then in about 9 months, you pump out a kid, and then in a few years, you'll send him to a school or to the subterranean underground hellhole that we call our nation's educational system to be brainwashed by an establishment curriculum that doesn't teach you jack shit about anything. And they will find some excuse to bully him and fuck with him probably for the next 12 years, whether it's because they think he's gay or just weird or whatever the reason, they'll find some reason. Then once he gets done with that hell, they'll send him. Damn you. Fucking pop-ups. It's not like this was going well anyways. I fucked up the entire video pretty much. I'm trying, I really am. Doesn't mean I'm succeeding, I'm just trying. But anyways, after he gets done with that hill, he'll probably need money. I doubt you'll give him any. So he'll probably get a job in the military, and then they'll send him to some country you can't find on a map, where he will pretty much spend all day writing out tickets to jihadists and walking into suicide car bombings. Then if he survives all of that, he will return home to America, where he will begin this nightmarish process all over again. Something right out of a George Orwell novel, except for the fact that it's a hell of a lot stupider. But other than that, your nation is essentially the equivalent of a fucking George Orwell novel. 1984 ain't got shit on the United States of America in the year 2019. We are worse than 1984. But anyways, sorry for that. I thought it'd be better than it was. We're not too long getting on with the process. There's a movie, The Hunt. The Hunt was a movie that was supposedly about rich liberal elitists. And again, they're not liberal. You don't understand what the fuck liberalism even is. And this all goes back to what I'm talking about. But anyways, it gets pulled from theaters. And this time it isn't because of liberals, as you call them, because they're not liberal, but leftists. It's not because of them this time. It's because of conservatives bitching about this. Ironically, doing one of the same thing they accuse liberals of doing. They call them snowflakes and accuse them of being offended by everything. Here you are doing the same thing. But here's the thing. Supposedly, it wasn't even supposed to be that. From what I understand about the movie, it's not like 3 hours of them torturing Republicans. That's not what this was. It was kind of like a dark comedy version of Red Dawn, and like nobody was a good guy, but in a way, in the end, the Republicans actually pretty much they fight back in the end. So it's like Red Dawn almost. It wasn't even what they thought it was, but they went off a bunch of bad information, kind of like they have their entire life, because that's what this country is based on. But anyways, they did that, and they got that fucking censored, and that was bullshit. And again, they're doing very much the same thing they accused the Democrats of doing, and they're only 1 minute. Anyway, they're doing very much the same thing they accused the Democrats of doing, and I don't agree with that. I don't think that, and even if it was this 3 hours of Republicans being tortured, even though I wouldn't want to see that film, and I don't think that's a good way to treat political matters in the United States of America. And with the way some Democrats are, I wouldn't doubt they wouldn't make a movie like that. I still have to fucking say, that's not the way to treat freedom of expression. People should have a right to make whatever film they want to make, and you get to choose with your dollar. That's supposed to be the positive thing about living in a capitalist democracy. And the one good thing about capitalism is supposed to be you get to choose with your dollar whether something's good or not. Good for you to watch. You know, if you want to eat something, watch something, hear something, hear someone speak, hear a song, watch a movie, watch a TV show, buy a certain type of food, eat junk food, buy cigarettes, buy anything you want, go to a strip club, whatever it is you want to do. In the United States of America, you're supposed to be able to do that because it's a capitalist society, and we're also a democratic society. And we're supposed to let individuals make the choices they want with their money and their life. So the conservatives, once again, proved that if they ever did get back on top, that they're not going to be that much better than the Democrats. And we know that because they've been on the top in the past. And you remember them suing like Janet Jackson, $20-something thousand to show her titty at a Super Bowl. Well, I'm sure they would be the same damn way all over again. So they're not that good either. And we've seen them in the top several times before, and they've done this before. The Democrats didn't used to do this. I don't know what the hell happened to them. But anyways, that's bullshit. And now I'm gonna talk shit about the Democrats. Because like I said before, I said this before, there was a guy who wanted to fire Tucker Carlson, and there was a big outrage over him because he said something. He said, "Why doesn't Fox News fire Tucker Carlson?" And the outrage was he made a joke, ironically, after complaining about someone else saying something offensive, where he said, "No, seriously, set fire to him." And again, I get that it was a joke, but at the same time, there's a bit of hypocrisy there, where you want this guy to be fired because he offended you, but yet you're saying something yourself that is incorrect and offensive to people. So, but at the same time, my issue is with the fact that somebody calling himself a Democrat, and I assume he identifies as a liberal, wanting someone else to be fired for disagree with him. And that is something you see a lot in the left, the supposedly liberal left. And many of these people no longer call themselves liberal. They call themselves progressive. And I have to ask the question, what is a progressive? You're progressing at like what, a cancer? Are you progressing like somebody progressing like, so I could progressively walk over a bridge. Doesn't mean it's smart. That doesn't make me a liberal. And I call myself a progressive too, don't get me wrong, but I also call myself a liberal. And that's, I hate to tell you this, for the people that call them liberals, they call these kinds of Democrats liberals, they're not liberal. And for the liberals who call themselves liberal that talk like this, you're not a liberal. And I'm not sure if you're calling yourself a humanist, but you're damn sure not a humanist. We believe in free speech and freedom of expression. We believe in human rights and child rights. I just talked about being against circumcision because I believe in child rights, and I believe in men's rights. I believe in women's rights. I believe in human rights. And I don't think anyone should be mutilated if they don't want to be. I don't believe, I'm a vegan. I try to be a vegan. I'm trying to be a vegan. I do cheat. It's hard to be one, but I try to be. I believe in veganism. I believe in human rights. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. I believe in those things, these things that are supposed to be a part of American democracy and democratic society, but they're not. But you cannot be a liberal and say you want to fire Tucker Carlson. You see this with people all the time who say things about different people. Again, he said he did not think white supremacy was as big of a deal as other people make it out to be. Well, and then they said, well, you're a white supremacist. I'm sorry, but him saying that doesn't make him a white supremacist. That doesn't make him anything other than someone who disagrees with you about how big of a deal something is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I agree with him, okay? And someone can say something like that, and they may be a white supremacist, but that doesn't mean they are. And you know, and I'm not sure I agree with them. I don't completely disagree. I don't completely agree. But the point is, that doesn't make him that. But the point is, you're not behaving like liberals. Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't make them something bad. It doesn't make them a racist or a misogynist or a homophobe or a xenophobe or a some form of other bad or disloyal person or some lunatic or someone who's bigoted or harmful. Disagreeing with you doesn't make anyone anything. And on the right wing, just because I disagree with you, that doesn't make me a communist. That doesn't make me anti-American. That doesn't make me a traitor. That doesn't make me some form of radical something or another of some kind. It just means I fucking disagree with you. And that's supposed to be a right in the United States of America to disagree with you. 1 minute, let me go to drink here. And I just don't understand this mentality. And by the way, you're gonna start censoring things that are offensive. I consider all kinds of things that are offensive. I was just talking about something a few days ago that was kind of an odd story in the news about some guy that people were joking about, and I was like, well, I was offended by some of their jokes. I thought, like, this really isn't something I think people should joke about. Again, that doesn't stop you from joking. That's not going to shut you up. So why the hell should we shut up the movie The Hunt because they pissed off enough Republicans, and the Republicans threw a hissy fit? Why should we shut up Tucker Carlson because we pissed off enough Democrats and the Democrats threw a hissy fit? No, that's not how this works. You don't just get to shut people up because, oh, well, enough people got upset. That's how you create conversation, a discussion. That's what we need in this country is a conversation, a national discussion conversation. Hell, I thought about renaming my channel because when I named it, I'm not going to lie, one, it was because people called me a nationalist and right wing, and other people called me a communist. And I wasn't either one, and I just called myself both to represent dichotomy and also to piss them off. But beyond that, I won't lie, I was reading the Communist Manifesto a little bit at the time, and I was kind of reading it, and I liked some of what I saw, and I just decided to call myself that. But I don't identify as a communist anymore currently, certainly. I am a liberal. That's what I started out as. I've been a liberal since I was about 12 years old. I'm a liberal now, and I identify as a liberal. I'm a liberal humanist American. I mean, that's who I am. That's what I identify as. And I'm an individual. And I reject this collective borg society. And I have thought about renaming my channel before National Discussion. And maybe with the 666, maybe not. Maybe I'll just leave that off and make it a little bit more, you know, not generic, hopefully, but, you know, copacetic, whatever word I'm looking for, kind of, you know, what I don't know how the copacetic is that a word? I've heard it somewhere. But the point is, you know, straightforward. Let's just talk. I've thought about doing that even. I probably won't because I like my name is catchy and people remember it and it works. But the point is rather, you're living more or less. The point is you're living in a George Orwell novel, and it's fucked up, and you need to change. And that's why I talk so much about genital mutilation, because unless I convince you that there's something wrong with genital mutilation, there's something wrong with you being mutilated and with you mutilating your children, you're never going to stop doing that. And I mean, you know, it's just ridiculous. And I feel almost like in some cases, because you see jokes about that and line a lot, like I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's okay to do this to your kids. I am circumcised. I don't want to be. I don't like being. And it's just something that really weirds me out and rubs me the wrong way. I don't like the shit. It disturbs me. And I want to convince you of that. And I want to convince you of a lot of other things in society. I want to bring new ideas to your attention and talk about things and discuss issues and share ideals. And that's what I think the country and the world needs right now and what we should be about. And we're not doing that. But the point is, you're living in a George Orwell society, and if you don't make an attempt to make positive change to change that, you're going to continue to live in a George Orwell society. Except, like I said, it's stupider. That's the only difference. You're living in a stupid version of a George Orwell novel. It's like 1984 combined with Idiocracy. It's Idiocracy combined with 1984. That is your country and your world, the world you're living in. So that's my point. Please do some research, if you will. Learn more about genital mutilation of children. Watch the movie American Circumcision. A minute. Watch the movie American Circumcision. That's about genital mutilation. It's a documentary on genital mutilation that is against genital mutilation. And there's another one I think called American Secret. And there was one made by a Jewish girl that was against it. I can't remember her name, but she made one against the procedure. And that might have been it. It was American Secret, I think. And then, anyways, that was one. Penn and Teller has one called Bullshit about it. Joe Rogan talks about genital mutilation. And there's lots of sources of information about genital mutilation and why it's not okay to do. And do not circumcise. Remember, do not circumcise your kids. And P666.